Screw that up. Fade out. There we go. What's up, everybody? All four of you. Notifications have not gone out, so that's fine. We're going to do a couple things, wait for people to come in here, and then we'll start. I was watching Cash is King last night, and man, dude made a bundle in Super Chats. That's pretty cool. Let's see. Content. And so we're going to put members only. There's the notifications. So there we go. Click on that. Customization. Subscribers only for 5 minutes. All right. Save. All right. Good morning, Jose. Just you and me today. It's just you and me. It's I know it's Tuesday, but I kind of have a lot to say this morning. I've had a couple of members to my YouTube channel. You get a consultation if you so desire. Not that I'm some kind of be all end all, but I have learned a few hard lessons. And so we get some more people in here. I want to talk about something that seems to be a problem. This really isn't going to be a spot market report, just more of a, I don't know what you would call it. BS, I guess. No, it's not that. I have something pretty serious to talk about here. Anyways, we'll let some people get in here, and yeah, it's a white shirt. It's the Patriot. I have a online meeting today. I wanted to look I didn't want to show up at the meeting representing Like Trucking with an Amon Amarth or death metal t-shirt. Imagine that. It's one of them video conferences. But anyways, I got to get my notebook out because I need to mark some of these times because I don't know, I've got a lot to say. And Big Rick CEO, I'm glad you're in here because this involves you a little bit. He's like, what? I haven't even talked to you in 3 days. What the hell? All right. So trying to get this up on the tubes here. A lot of interesting stuff in the news off topic there. That's a lot of saber rattling, which is kind of dumb. But anyways, what are you going to do, right? All right, we'll do some shout outs and then I'm going to do something here real quick. Do some shout outs. Then I'm going to share the screen. Images. That looks like a good image. Oh, we're not going to share that one. Okay. There, let's do that. All right, so we'll do some shout outs and I'll share the screen. Let's remove this here. All right, Jose, good morning. Aaron, what's up? Pigtail, good morning. I think this will interest you as well. Scott, you as well. I've got some really good core group of people that have helped me out over the years, and I appreciate every single one of you. On time this morning, good deal. Finally got a notification, good. Yeah, bitches, says Big Rig CEO. Good morning from Elko, Nevada. Wow, you really lay down the miles there, Sterling. Good talking to you yesterday, by the way. Chucky making fun of my white shirt. Good morning, everyone, says Shannon. CDN, I think you'll like this video as well, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. Chucky. Big Rig is in trouble. Why is he in trouble? Oh yeah, because this partially involves him. I'm going to tell you guys a story. It's not drama, Big Rig CEO. Don't don't be scared. Pale Rider TV, Trucker for Life, Big Houston. What's up? So Big Rig CEO and I used to have these conversations. We were both at Transland together, and he had experience before in. Well, let me start over. Big Rig CEO and I, we've been friends for a while. We were both at the same company, and we would have these discussions about becoming owner operators. Now, at one time, I was like, hell to the no, I didn't want to do that. And he said something very profound, and he said, "You either work for the man or you are the man." All right. And he started telling me about a friend of his that was at Landstar and how he could dispatch himself and all that. Now, at that time, James could not go to Landstar, so he chose a different path. He went to KLM. And once I was able to convince the wife, I went to Landstar. I bought a truck, bought my first truck, went to Landstar. Now, here's where Big Rig CEO really comes in. Okay. He started sending me these YouTube videos of I don't even remember the YouTuber. It's not a trucking YouTuber, but he was talking about trucking industry and talking about business plans and talking about numbers and know your numbers. And I wanted nothing to do with that because I was determined to do it my own way. That was the whole point of me buying a truck, because I wanted to do things my way. And that all that business crap, all that math, all that, you know, businessy, I was like, I so I'd watch, and here's why I was like that. And looking back, this is why I was like that, because that stuff intimidated me. That stuff, deep down inside, I knew that I didn't have what it took to be starting a business. I didn't have the right mindset. And I think deep down inside, subconsciously, I knew that. And that's why those kind of videos did not appeal to me. Now, James is the kind of person that when he starts researching something, he goes full on. He and I did a all vegetable fruit juice fast, and he did more studies on that stuff than I did. When he went keto, he was full into it. He fully engrosses himself into something to be successful at it. I was not like that. That's where he and I differ quite a bit. And so I wasn't being truthful with myself, which is what this video is about. This ain't a spot report. This is a checkup from the neck up for a lot of you, myself included. And that almost took me out. That lack of absorbing everything mindset almost took me out. I was driving I bought a truck at 550,000 miles. Took the Landstar. Now, Landstar, you felt special, man. You felt like you're in the big leagues, because this wasn't just a lease purchase deal with a carrier. You felt your ego gets fed that, oh yeah, you're the real boss, and Now, the particular orientation that I went to for Landstar there in Indianapolis, those guys are great. And they go over your gross cost per mile and your net cost per mile. And if you decide you want to get a trailer on your own, they would do those numbers as well. And they even would try to teach you, you know, if you're making exactly your gross or your net cost per mile, are you making money? And a lot of people are like, no. And to me, it was like not much of a reality check, but it helped me feel like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. Now, to be putting your business plan together at orientation, that was one of the many mistakes that I made. It's a little bit too late at that point because that meeting could have easily gone into holy crap, I can't afford this. Schneider, everybody rags on Schneider and Schneider Finance, but did you know that Schneider has a meeting with you and they use ATBS not as a tax but as a help you create a business plan. Now, whether you agree whether ATBS can do tax or not, that's invalid. The validity of ATBS is they do know how to create trucking business plans because they know the expenses because they have everyone's expenses. And so Snyder says, "Hey, you need to have a meeting with these guys so we can see if you can even afford to do this." Landstar doesn't do that. Landstar assumes that, and again, this is not a bash against Landstar, but Landstar assumes that you have your act together. But if you don't, we're gonna remind you in class. And you have a lot of successful Schneider ICs with those high truck payments. Why is that? What separates the 4 Schneider Finance black Freightliners that are all at the same OC? What separates all 4 of those trucks? Mindset. Now, some companies will want to put you in a lease regardless of what your other expenses are, and that's by design. So now I feel a little bit more special, but so we've put pen to paper one time. I'm like, okay, I can handle this. Good thing, because I'm at orientation. I've already invested in the truck. And back then, you didn't have a whole lot of like trucking YouTubers that talked business sense. I mean, there were some, but it was more like an emotional reaction video, not this is what you need to do. And if anybody that was not a truck driver talked about the trucking industry on YouTube as a business consultant, you didn't I personally didn't like listening to those people because they don't drive a truck. What the hell do they know? And that was usually my first question. Oh, you're going to tell me how to be an owner operator, but you've never driven a truck? How dare you? Well, we live and learn, right? How dare you? You don't know what it's like, man. And so away I went, trying not to go below the net cost per mile that they even give you a card that gives you your booked rate, and then it automatically tells you what your 65%, so you don't have to have a calculator on everything. All right. So a year and a half passes. I'm struggling a little bit, and I have no idea why. Other than, well, the market conditions suck. Oh, we're in a recession. These agents are being horrible. I was blaming everyone else but myself. So Jeffrey Light sees that I'm struggling. He says, "Hey, man, let me give you a different perspective. Schneider also has choose your own freight. Bring your truck over here. If you don't want to, I'll help you deal with Landstar's BS because I was over there for 9 years." So he gave me the 3-hour version of his Landstar versus Schneider video. I was sold on the idea. And at the time that I went over there, I was desperate because I wasn't making it. And I had no idea why. My costs are pretty low. I don't know why. I was just looking at what I give the house. So I went to Schneider and I started to make some money. I started to have some revenue. I started to have some consistency. Stress started to go away. And I'm a big guy with I'm big with the law of attraction, right? I'm good at visualizing things. Makes sense. Sammy makes sense. He and I have talked about this on the phone, and he and I are kind of aligned on that respect when it comes to that. And I was picturing my success at Schneider, except for one thing. I still was not putting pen to paper. So after hanging out with Jeffrey Like and seeing his Truck and Pro program, and he showed me how each quarter was not much different from the other, whereas Landstar, it was like one quarter would be really good, and the other quarter was like, what the hell am I doing? That appealed to me. That consistency appealed to me. But what also was awesome was he started showing me that program, Truck and Pro, and how it would estimate your cost per mile to the tenth of a cent, as long as you were putting in the right numbers. Still, I still did not buy that program. I still did not put pen to paper. Then October of that year, I blew my turbo. I was in the middle of Gary, Indiana, and cost me about 10 grand, because not only did we need a new turbo, but we needed a new turbo actuator, and then a couple of bolts broke in the manifold, trying to get that apart because my truck had over 800,000 miles on it. And I couldn't trust it going up hills and on hot days. I mean, it was just bad. But yet still I soldiered on, not realizing what was going on. So one day I was sitting at this desk and I put pen to paper. No program, because I don't want to learn some silly computer program. I'm just going to do it with pen to paper. So I did the math. I did general math. And then reality came up to me and slapped me dead in the face. I discovered that my expenses were so high between the truck and the truck payment, truck maintenance and repair and truck payment, that I was paying almost 4 grand a month for that truck, which is the same level of the Snyder Finance guys. Now, if you meet a Snyder Finance guy or gal, a Snyder Finance driver at Snyder, you've probably seen them on the interstate blowing past you doing 80 or 75. You can't do 80 at Snyder because they have to hustle. They have to put the loads together perfectly to make that high payment. And if you don't have the right mindset or the ability to learn that low board, you will sink. It's that quick. You got to have your act together. Schneider knows that, which is why they have you do, a business plan meeting with ATBS. Now, the problem was I wasn't running like a Schneider Finance truck, nor could I with the truck that I had. That's when the oh crap moment happened for me. But yet, still, I did not come with a business plan. I was in Joplin. I decided I'd go check out MHC Kenworth there, put an application on for a new truck. They evaluated my old truck to see what kind of trade-in value I would get. And I'll never forget, it was a single piece of paper. Pretty easy loan application. Too easy. Excuse me. So, about a week later, I get approved, and my heart was racing. And they said, well, we just need another $10,000 down, and you can have this truck, brand new truck. And I didn't have that 10 grand. Well, can you borrow it? Can you put it on a credit card? Can you go into more debt to create more debt? Can you do that? No. So I looked at this truck that you see behind me, bought it instead. And I felt much better because now instead of $130,000 debt, I had $60,000 debt. And I finally decided to get the computer program and put numbers, put pen to paper. Numbers. They're intimidating. And I realized, I come to the realization that I had actually no clue what I was doing. And it was only because I surrounded myself with good people that tried to tell me, James, Big Rig CEO tried to tell me, dude, this is what you have to do. You're on this journey. You can't screw up. And he was talking from experience. In one of the live feeds, he talked about struggle and he's filed bankruptcy. He admitted that on YouTube because of mistakes that he made. And so the whole point of this, I don't know, discussion is that I did not know how or have the mindset to put pen to paper. Put the numbers down. And I've had multiple conversations in the last couple of months, last 6 months, of people that just don't know their numbers. And so when a driver who owns a truck or leases a truck tells me that they don't know their expenses, I get it. I've been there. I was that guy. When I went from Landstar to Schneider, I basically insulated myself from the volatility of the spot market. So it as long as I kept pressing forward, as long as those deposit slips look good, I was good to go. And if that deposit slip was awesome, I could take a week off because, I have little kids at home and I didn't want to miss out on my family. That was the whole point of being an owner operator. I'm the boss. If I want to work, I can work. If I don't want to work, I don't have to. So once I started doing the numbers, it excited me. And then it really, I mean, look, we can all sit there, well, my insurance is this much, my truck payment is this, my car payment is this, my house payment is this. But are you calculating the food that you eat? Are you calculating your tolls? Are you calculating your DEF? I know people that aren't even separating their DEF from their fuel costs. Are you really? A lot of people complain about Schneider and how they micromanage you. But if you don't micromanage yourself, there's a lot of room. And people, I get it. I was that guy. I didn't micromanage myself. In many ways, I still don't. I once had $35,000 of debt on credit card debt. This is before I was a truck driver. And my wife put pen to paper, and within 2 years we got it paid off. Pen to paper. I don't care if you're using a program, I don't care if you're using a spreadsheet. I don't care if you're using, you know, a hammer and chisel on a tablet. And in this market will purge the people that don't want to take the time to put pen to paper. I've talked to so many drivers that are either having to make the decision to either pay themselves or pay for the maintenance and repair of their truck because there's a thin margin right now. I talked to a person yesterday that was $200,000 in debt. I'm like, how do you sleep at night? See, once you put pen to paper, and I'm going to use that term because not everybody wants a computer program. Not everybody wants to use Truckin' Pro. Not everybody wants to use Truckin' Office. No, there are people that don't even know what a spreadsheet is, and I get that. Okay, I was that guy. Find the people that can create those things for you and help you with that. If you get Truckin' Pro, Ray will help you. He's got many videos on how to do it. And my code is SA10, for all intents and purposes. But if you get Truckin' Office, they will call you and say, "Hey man, how can we help? What do you need?" And when I switched to Truckin' Office, I was like, I was lost, and Jeff and Scott have both helped me. Scott SRO both helped me how to create invoices and all that stuff for myself. And if you can't do that, if you absolutely can't do that, then hire somebody that can. Hires if I and be able to listen to that person. Hire somebody that like, hey man, you're spending way too much on this. We need to cut that out. Or you're not running, there's not enough money coming in. And if there's not enough money coming in, that's problem number 1. And then problem number 2 is too much money going out. They're equal problems. I guarantee you that most of these people that are pushing these lease purchase programs on YouTube have never put pen to paper. Never. They think the calculator is a silly app on their phone that you use when, you're balancing your checkbook, if you even do that. How many people actually even do that? And I've had owner operators tell me, "Well, I I measure my success of my business by my deposit slips." No, that's not how it works. That's what I did. And I get it. I've been that guy. I was that guy. I was the guy who didn't want to look at my numbers. I didn't want to face the truth, and that's the reality. After about a year of being an owner operator, reality sets in. Wow, I'm not making any money. Then the tax man comes on and says, "Yeah, you did make some money, but we're getting it." And then the truck dealership raises their hand and says, "No, we're going to get some of this as well." Then the oil tycoons go, "Well, we got our part, definitely." And then you got your IRP, and then the insurance companies go, "Man, we own you." The banks go, "We own you." Next thing you know, you're drowning in debt and have no idea why, and have no idea how to adjust to eliminate it. William Brown says that it's the pennies here and pennies there that absolutely will bring your business to a grinding halt. That is absolutely true, because that's exactly what was happening to me. I'm like, well, my insurance is this much, and my truck payment is this much, and the house is this much. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know why I'm like, $10,000 debt on the credit card. Huh. Oh, my turbo blew. I don't have enough money for that. That's weird. How many of you in this chat have been there? Now, we learn through struggle. Through my struggles, I learned. And luckily, it didn't take me out. There's a little bit of luck. And surrounding myself with good people, that was a big part of it as well. And I might fail tomorrow. You never know. My dispatch service might go away, and then I get my truck, it blows the turbo. I'm like, well, now what? That could easily happen to me. These are challenging times. We've talked about it for 2 years, that these high rates that we were getting in the spot market were not going to last. And I've been saying for 2 years that if you didn't have your mental, physical, financial, and spiritual fitness all in check, you were going to be challenged. If you don't have a strong foundation for anything, if you don't have a strong foundation at home, if you don't have a strong foundation of yourself, if you don't have a strong foundation for your business, you're not going to make it. There's so many things that are against the small business person. Do not be the number one enemy. Do not be your own enemy. And if an hour of putting pen to paper can make you realize that, holy crap, things aren't right here, how can I adjust? That's when you seek the help of people. Hey, man, I get it all the time. Hey, I'm only able to gross X amount for this week, man. Each week, I don't know what I'm doing. And then I go, well, what's your I have a truck that did X amount, but he had to do X amount of miles. He had to do the things that no one else wanted to do. He had to do the multiple stops. He had to do he had to go beyond his radius. And if you don't put pen to paper, at the very least, then you're fighting yourself. You've got the government against you. You've got corporations against you. You got mega carriers that will take that load for 80 cents a mile and laugh in your face. You have all these things, except there's not going to be someone to rescue you to a certain point, because we're all going to be struggling. And so if and look, this is by design. These lease purchase programs, a lot of them are, let's keep the driver as dumb as possible, and he's going to pay the bills for the truck, but he'll still be a company driver. They don't want you to know the ins and outs of the entire industry, because the more you understand, the more you realize how many things are against you. He who has the most knowledge and money wins. And so you're armed against you're helpless against these people that are well armed. They have the pencil pushers, they have the ability to hire people that can go beyond. They have no problem putting someone that they've never met before in a $160,000 truck, because their insurance will cover it. No problem. No issues. If I put someone in this truck and that person is a horrible driver and they end up, hurting somebody, I'm liable. That driver's liable. Like trucking is liable if it's signed on with them. The world is against you. The world does not love you. Business is not fair. There are many people with more money than you that have bad ethics and bad morals. So if you have trouble doing something as simple as calculating your costs, eventually it's going to catch up, unless you're making so much money that you're too big to fail. Well, how many other companies thought that they were too big to fail? And it doesn't matter what your cost per mile is, as long as you know what your cost per mile is. So if your cost per mile, if you do look, some of you hopefully will put pen to paper and realize that your cost per mile is like $3 a mile, and you're going to go, oh crap. Okay, that's not the end of the world. You know what you can do? You can now adjust, because you know. Think about this. My wife and I were talking about this during Hurricane Ian. Imagine living in the 1800s. There was no radar. There was no warning system of when a hurricane was coming. There was no preparations. And by the time that you could make preparations, the storm was already there. Whereas now we have radar in computers that can predict it a week, 2 weeks out. Can you imagine living in a place like Florida, Miami, or Tampa, and all of a sudden you wake up one day like, oh, there's a hurricane. This kind of sucks. If you're not putting pen to paper, how can you if you don't have the radar on, how can you prepare for the storm? Spot market works in 3-year cycles. There's an upswing for a year and a half, then there's 6 months of leveling off, and then it slowly drops, and then there's a drop, and then it goes right. I mean, COVID, same thing. It just was more extreme. 3-year cycles since I've been playing the owner operator game. You have to be able to survive. You have people that have their own authority that haven't even been driving for 3 years. You have people that went and bought a $200,000 truck that haven't even been driving for 3 years. But there's hope. Once you put pen to paper, there's hope. Once you know the truth, there's hope. There's hope, Sean. There's hope. And the hope is that once you kind of get your bearings, once you kind of know what the storm you're dealing with is, once you know, then you can make your adjustments. Then you can get out of your own way and make the adjustments that you need. It's as simple as that. Pen to paper. It's not fancy computers. It's not fancy spreadsheets. And there's a lot of available spreadsheets. Big Rig CO had a spreadsheet on his channel. There are some carriers that even have profit calculators on their websites. 123 Lowboard has a profit calculator. So you take your monthly and I'm going to help you out here. Take your monthly expenses and divide it by whatever number you're looking at. In other words, if you're going cost per day, divide that number by how many days a month you work. If you want to look at your cost per mile, divide that huge number and divide it by how many miles that you ran. All miles, not just loaded. If you want to break out your cost per week, divide it by 4, divide it by 4.3. But you have to include everything. The money that you spent at the Walmart, that crappy t-shirt you bought at the Flying J, that 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 audio book that you paid for in the bargain bin, that cheesy, cardboard movie, that you 3 for $10 at the TA. Everything. Your Netflix, your YouTube Premium, your super chats, all of it. Calculate all of it. Now you can separate business from personal, but at the end of the day, you got to so you divide that, you add up all that number for your business and see what your business needs, and then add your home. What's your salary? Now let me ask you something. If you were to go work as a line cook for a small restaurant, would you go out with the wage that you're making and go out and make a purchase on a $200,000 house? Probably not. But yet that's what we all do when we buy a truck that goes beyond our means. And that that's the reality of the situation, because if you're not putting pen to paper, at least on everything that you're spending, then how do you know? I've talked to several people, not just one, several people that said, well, I don't have this bill. I don't have this bill. The truck's paid off. I don't own a home. I live in the truck, but yet they're still struggling. And they don't know why. Or it's easy to blame the conditions. Well, the market sucks right now. Uber's trying to pass a low for $1.20 a mile. That's why I'm failing. No. You're failing because you don't know the numbers. You don't know that you can or cannot take that load for $1.20. And then I had the mindset when I was at Landstar, well, if it's not above a certain rate per mile, I'm sitting. Okay, so if you're in the desert and you come across a water pipe that has water and you're dying of thirst and it's only trickling, are you going to sit there and not drink the water? Or are you going to take what you can get? And if doing your numbers causes you anxiety and you're putting it off because you don't want to know the truth, that's something to look at in and of itself. The truth will set you free. And it will enable you to make your next step, whether that would be cutting your costs, adjusting your running lane, or filing bankruptcy. I've talked to several people that had EIDL loans, several, and they still went under. Why is that? How can you be given $70,000 to $100,000 of cash and you can't make it? There's a problem there. And if you don't put pen to paper, you don't know what the problem is. And that's the reality of the situation. Don't be scared of these. Don't be scared of those. They can work in your favor if you let them. They could be your friends if you let them. And here's the deal. Get out of your own way. If numbers, look, if math is hard, and I joke about that all the time, math is hard, then hire someone that excels in math. That's what the big carriers do. That's what the big businesses do. I have people in my circle that their sole job is to be a pencil pusher and does the math for their company to project what they need to do in the future. I have friends in that circle. If you're running power only right now with no trailer because you couldn't find one for a decent price, it's because Schneider, Amazon, Walmart, JB Hunt, Extra Lease have pencil pushers that go, you know what? There's going to be a problem of getting trailers, so we need to put our orders in now, and we're going to order excessive amounts because there's going to be huge demand when things come back online. That's why the local 3-truck carrier can't find a trailer, but Amazon's got 1,000,000 of them, and you don't. That's the reality of the situation that you've put yourself in when you sign on the dotted line, whether it be a lease purchase, truck purchase. You're taking on that responsibility. I love helping people. I really do. And we all know the trend of drivers not doing their numbers, because I was one. I was one of those guys. And when you have this surmountable debt, this amount of debt, and then your truck engine light comes on, and you realize that you can't even afford the tow truck, that's a harsh truth. That would stress me out. And then you get to the dealership and they're like, they give you the bird saying, you know what? Sucks to be you. That part hasn't been in here for 6 months. Good luck. Meanwhile, the bank is still like, hey man, where's my money? Where's my money, man? You default on the EIDL loan, the government gets your stuff. It gets your equipment. You don't think that's by design? The odds are stacked against you, so you must arm yourself. It's probably going to make this monetization yellow by saying that. You must prepare yourself to do battle against the people that do crunch their numbers, that do know what's coming, that pay attention to all the graphs and charts and tools of the low boards, of sonar. The people that have the advantage. What gives a big carrier advantage over you? What are those things? Number one thing is information. If Uber Freight has got freight all across the country, they know what's moving, what's not. They know what trucks are moving it for. They know how many trucks are in an area at a certain time. You have AI analytics that can calculate to the exact hour, to the exact minute of when a city like Atlanta or Chattanooga or Phoenix is going to be influx with trucks. Meanwhile, you're on the low board making 30 phone calls, wondering why you can't get anything past $1.50. You know why? Because about 1,000 trucks just entered Phoenix, and they're also looking for loads. They have access to that information. You don't. That's the reality of your situation. And so if you would just get out of your own way, put pen to paper or hire somebody to put pen to paper and be honest about everything that you spend. Everything. Couple of tricks is use one card strictly for your food expenses. Anything, whether it's a cup of coffee or, that carbolicious you shouldn't be eating, whatever. And at the end of the month, see how much you spent on that card. Or if you get cash, you get, okay, I'm gonna give myself X amount of cash per week. That's my allowance, and don't go beyond that. Well, how much is that cash that you're putting out? Add that up, divide that by whatever number you need to know. It's separated, so it's all there on black and white. If you have tolls, put that under one category. It's really simple, and if you do that, you're going to find that it might eliminate some anxiety. It might eliminate some depression because now you know what? It's getting ready to storm. I need an umbrella, a raincoat. I need to board up the windows. And the purge cycle is coming. You have an election year coming up. You have uncertainty on a global scale. You have stocks that are crashing. And you have trucking companies going out of business. And you got bigger companies like Werner. Didn't Werner just buy a company, absorbed a company? I forget what it was. I'm not the trucking news guy. It's about mindset. And trust me, I know that once I started putting pen to paper and then I graduated to a computer program, I felt special. I felt better. It fed my ego. And my ego was like, yeah, finally we feel like an owner operator because now we're tracking numbers. Ooh, good on you, Steve. And then you can make determination whether what you can make the determination of whether you feel it's worth it or if you need to figure out something else. You know, we have these emotional bonds to these trucks, and sometimes you got to realize, you know what? Maybe this truck ain't for me. Maybe I need to get something different. Baylor, yes, Baylor is. It was the company that Werner just bought, and that's how the transfer of wealth happens. Is because these companies are better than you on crunchy numbers, on staying out of their own way, hiring the people that can see into the future financially. And that's the and look, mega carriers account for 5 to 7% of our industry. Okay, but you know about them. You know that they exist. They look like they dominate the industry, and in some ways they do with the ATA. ATA is a lot more armed than OIDA, even though owner operators make a big, huge bulk of the trucks that are out here. So this is my message to you. If you are struggling right now and you're looking at the rates that you're getting from the spot market and you don't put pen to paper, it's going to be a big struggle. You don't have to put pen to paper if you're, making $4 a mile on all miles on everything. That's a lot of money. Then the fuel companies came up and said, "Hey man, now we get our share." A broker's goal is to make as much money, as much profit as possible off that load. Whether you can see what number they're getting or not, it does not matter. They're only going to give you what they give you. And you have to adjust to whatever the market is throwing at you. How do you know how to do that if you don't even know your own numbers? There's a lot of people like, well, I have to be above $2 a mile. Well, do you really? Well, I'm not sure, but I think so. No, it's not how it works. You might do your numbers like, wow, crap, I only need $1.10 a mile. Now, of course, I don't, if you have a really low number, you have to make sure you got everything. Look, if you're spending, let's say that you don't live at a house or apartment, you live in the truck, but you're very frugal, so you only spend $10 a day on food. Or maybe you go to Walmart and pay $50 a week to buy whatever you need. Or maybe now it's probably about 100. That's 100 times 4, that's $400 a month in just food alone. Are you calculating that? Probably not. That was something that was told me by an old school trucker when I was driving a school bus. And yeah, you got per diem and all that, but still, that's still an expense. That's still money going out. If your money going out doesn't change in adjusting to the money coming in, how do you know? Artie says, what is the truth? A lot of people are afraid of the truth. A lot of people are afraid of knowing the truth of their own numbers. They know what they, and that was me. I avoided the truth that I did not know what I was doing. I didn't want somebody on YouTube reminding me of that. Screw that. I'm not watching that. I'm going to watch this drama video instead and judge that person because I'm afraid to judge myself. If we had the same discernment to ourselves that we do with people on YouTube, you probably wouldn't like yourself very much. I'm not talking to you, Artie. I'm just saying in general. You guys are making some really great comments, and I can't get through them all because I have to end this feed pretty quickly. But if the words that I say strike fear and depression in you, then you have to figure out where that comes from. Where is the truth in all of this? If you're watching me and you're like, dude, I got this, shut up, then good on you. Good on you. But if you're like, oh man, I can't stand Steve anymore. He's bringing me doom and gloom. Well, figure out where that fear is coming from. This is not doom and gloom. This is reality. The reality is that you're in a cold, cruel world, and that entitlement attitude is not going to get you anywhere. Business isn't fair. Business does not have morals. And they have college degrees and mathematical skills that go far beyond anything that you can do. But there's hope. There is hope. And it all starts by putting pen to paper. Luck is a terrible business plan. That is absolutely true, Sterling. Many of you in the next 6 months are going to face some harsh truths. And face your fears, create a plan, put pen to paper, figure out what your goals are, and start acting like a business person. Anyways, guys, I'm going to read the comments after the fact. Thanks for everything. Thanks for coming in. We had almost 65 people in here today. So hopefully my message is getting out. There's hope, guys. There really is. Strength for today, hope for tomorrow. And we'll go over plans of hope and plans of strength in future videos. Make sure you subscribe, like, and thanks for your support. I appreciate you. Peace.